Hi, buddies. Good evening. So today's concept is operators and expressions. It's a lesson 4 of this Python course, and it's a very important chapter because operators are basically the heart of any programming language. There is no programming language without operators. Okay, so I'll be discussing operators now. So let me just quickly start off. Operators in Python can be classified in two ways. Okay, I'll repeat once again. Operators in Python can be classified in two ways. Okay, so what are they? First one is they can be classified based on the number of operands. Based on the number of operands. Okay, the first one is based on the number of operands. Okay, one second. Based on the number of operands. Okay, you can classify your operators in Python as unary, okay, binary and ternary, right? Unary, binary and ternary. Okay, now what is the second way of classifying? Second way of classifying your operators in Python is based on type of operation. Based on type of operation. Let me write it. Based on type of operation, you can classify your operators in Python, okay, into your arithmetic operators, then you have your assignment operators, okay, then you have your unary minus operator, okay, then you have your relational operators, then we have logical operators, then we have bitwise operators, we have membership operators, and then we have one more called as identity operators. Okay, so let me repeat once again. Operators in Python can be classified into in two ways. Okay, one is based on the number of operands that you make use on an operator. You can classify your operators into unary, binary and ternary operators. Okay, I'll repeat once again. Based on the number of operands you use on an operator, you can classify your operators in Python by unary, binary and ternary. Okay, these are the three types of operators based on number of operands that you make use of on an operator. Second one is based on the type of operation that you perform, like what operation you perform on using that operator. Based on that, you can classify your operators into arithmetic operators, assignment operators, unary minus operator, relational operator, logical operators, bitwise operators, membership operators, and identity operators. Okay, now what do you mean by this unary operator? Whenever you use a single operand on a single operator, okay, that is called as your unary operators. For example, say if I say minus a, okay, or not b, something like this, right? It means you have one operand, okay, and one operator. Here not is an operator in Python, okay, minus is an operator in Python. So you have one operand, this is your operand, okay, and this is your operator. When you have one operand and one operator, you basically call it as a unary operator. Okay, now second one is binary operators. Binary operators are when you have more than you have two operands, that is, say for example, a plus b or a modulo b, so on and so forth, okay, etc. So when you have two operands and one operator, you call it as binary operators. Okay, so this plus and modulo is basically called as your binary operators. Okay, now ternary operators, when you have more than two operands, two operands, you basically call it as your ternary operators. Okay, so based on the number of operands that you make use on an operator, you can classify your operators into unary operator, binary operators, and ternary operators. Now the second way of classifying is based on the type of operation that they perform. You can classify your operators into arithmetic operators, assignment operators, unary minus operator, relational operators, logical operators, bitwise operators, membership operators, and identity operators, right? Now let me explain them one by one to you. Okay, now what do you mean by arithmetic operators? Okay, arithmetic operators are nothing but used for addition, subtraction, multiplication, okay, division, truncated division, modulo, and exponential operation. These are the arithmetic operators available in Python. Okay, first one is what? Plus, that is used for addition. Next one is minus, used for subtraction. Star mark, that is your asterisk mark, which is used for multiplication. These three are basically used for division, that is a forward slash, single forward slash, double forward slash, a modulo are used for division. I'll tell you what is the difference between these three in some time. and then you have something called as exponential operator, or exponent operator, exponential operator. Okay, now what do you mean by what happens when you use double star over here? Okay, plus, you know, it is used for adding two numbers. Minus, you know, it is used for subtracting one number from another number. Star, you know, it is used for multiplying two numbers. Okay, and these are division. So how does this division work basically? Okay, it is like this. If suppose when I say 4 divided by 2, okay, in Python it will basically give you, okay, 2.0. Right now, if suppose I say 5 divided by 2, okay, then in Python it will give you 2.5. okay, this is how it works in Python. Okay, now what if I don't want this 5 over here? I don't want this 5. Okay, I just want it to be 2. It means I want the fractional part to be truncated. Okay, then you go for truncated division, which is nothing but your double forward slash. Then the moment you say 5 double forward slash 2, it is called as truncated division. Okay, so what happens in this case is it becomes 2. 2 will be your result. Okay, the fractional part would be truncated. It will give you a truncated int, you know, a truncated division operator, and an integer will basically give you truncated integer value. Okay, I'll talk about this later in some more time in more detail. For now, I'm just giving you an introduction to these operators. We'll have more guess the output kind of programs in our course over here in today's lesson. Okay, so let us quickly go through the introduction of all these. Okay, now what do you mean by modulo? If suppose I say 5 modulo 2, then what will happen if I say 5 modulo 2? 5 modulo 2 will basically divide and give you the remainder. It means, okay, 5 mod 2, 2 2s are 4, and what is remaining is 1. So 1 will be your answer. Okay, so if the moment I say double star, okay, it is an exponent operator. So what will happen here? If I say 2 star of say 3, okay, this is basically considered as 2 to the power of 3, which will give you 2 2s of 4, 4 2s 8. So the result will be equal to 8. Is that okay? These are the arithmetic operators available in Python. Okay, now coming to your assignment operators. Did you understand this? Yeah. So let me come to assignment operators. Okay, assignment operators will take this form. Okay, either it is plus equal to, minus equal to, and all these. Okay, so they are sometimes called as compound operator, shortcut operator, and all that. So let me consider this also as your assignment operator for now. Okay, plus equal to, minus equal to, modulo equal to, and so on. With all binary operators, you can basically make use of this. Okay, so it is like this. So what does this mean? Okay, not with all binary operators, with arithmetic operators you can make use of this. Okay, now how does this work? Let me tell you. If suppose I say a is equal to a is equal to 6, and then say a plus equal to 6. Okay, in that case, you know what happens in this case? In this case, this becomes a is equal to a plus 6. This becomes a is equal to a plus 6. Therefore, the answer of the what gets stored in a would be 12. 6 plus 6 would be 12. Okay, similarly, if suppose I say, okay, okay, now you know this thing, right? You know this thing. A is equal to 6 is nothing but 6 will get stored into a. This is an assignment operator. Okay, so instead of this, now if suppose I say, okay, a is equal to say 5, and then say a minus equal to say 5, then you know what will this become? This becomes like this. Okay, a is equal to a minus of 5, which is nothing but 0. A becomes 0. 5 minus 5 is nothing but 0, so a gets stored, 0 gets stored into a. These are basically called as your assignment operators. Fine, yeah. So basically, your constant would be on the right hand side and your variable will be on the left hand side. And to assign the constant on the right hand side to your left hand side, you make use of your assignment operator. Okay. Now, what do you mean by unary minus? Okay, negating a value. Let me erase this. Okay, or let me write it here itself. I'll erase this for now. Let me erase this and then clear out the screen. Okay, yeah, unary minus is what you basically say. Okay, if suppose you have the value of n is equal to 10 and you say k is equal to minus n. Okay, so what gets stored in n is minus 10, so minus 10 gets stored. Okay, that is you are negating a value, but original value of n doesn't change. If you want to change the original value of n, then you're supposed to write it as n is equal to minus n. Okay, then what happens? The minus would get applied to 10, and the minus 10 gets stored into n. Therefore, n's original value of 10 would be replaced with minus 10. This is how it works. This is basically called as unary minus. It's a unary operator, unary minus. Okay. Next, you have something called as relational operators. Okay, I'm just giving you an introduction now about all the operators. Okay, so we will have more programs after this. After this introduction, there will be more programs where you understand much better. Okay. Yeah, so what is the next one? We have yeah, relational operators. Okay, so how does relational operators works? It's very strange, not strange, it's very amazing, it's very nice, it's surprising to see how relational operators works in Python. Okay, so the relational operators are less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and not equal to. These are the operators in these are the relational operators available in Python. Okay, and the strange thing is that if suppose I say 2 less than 3 less than say 4, okay, and if it was in say languages like Java, okay, then it would have been a problem, because what happens in Java is that when you say if you don't know Java, it's okay, but for people who have the knowledge of Java and you want to relate it to Python, then you can relate it. In Java, what would have happened is that if suppose 2 is less than 3 would result in a true value in Java, right? It will result in a true value, and true cannot be compared with a value called as 4 over here. So this will result in a compile time error itself in Java. This will result in a compile time error because it says I don't know what is the type of B, what is the 4 is not considered as a Boolean type, it is considered as an integer in Java, whereas in Python, right, in Python, keep this in mind. Okay, any zero value is considered as false and any non-zero value is considered as true. Okay, therefore this works in Python. Okay, I'll repeat once again. In Python, any zero value is considered as false. Zero value is considered as false and any non-zero value is considered as true. Okay, so zero is false and any non-zero value is considered as true in Python. Okay, having said that, you know how this will work in Python. This basically is called as chaining. So whenever you come across a expression like this which contains relational operators, what I want you to do is immediately convert this into, okay, something called as 2 less than 3 and, okay, again, okay, 2 less than 3 and 3 less than 4. It basically changes with an logical AND operator. Okay, 2 less than 3 and 3 less than 4. Okay, so basically this is how this is in Python now. Okay, in basically what happens when you say 2 less than 3 and 3 less than 4, okay, 2 would get, or 2 less than 3 would get executed, and would get the expression would get evaluated, and then this would again be chained with a logical and then says 3 less than 4. This is how this statement, this expression gets converted like this, which is nothing but, okay, because I have not explained logical and for now, don't worry, I'll just quickly solve this. Okay, so is 2 less than 3, you tell me, this should result in a true or false. Okay, is the value of 2 less than 3, this is called as less than, this is called as less than or equal to, this is greater than or equal to, not equal to. Okay, now I'll tell you the significance between equal to and not equal to later. For now, okay, so 2 less than 3 would basically be true because 2 is less than 3, correct? So that would result in a Boolean constant true. And, okay, is 3 less than 4? Yes, it is in fact true. Okay, so even this will result in a Boolean constant true, and then true will always result in true value, because I'll explain you how this true and true becomes true in the next logical operators. For now, just don't worry. Okay, so these are this is how your relational operators works. Okay, so let me go with other relational operators quickly and explain you how it works. Okay, what is the significance of other operators? Okay, and then we'll go in detail about all those in the after completing this introduction to this. Okay, so less than, we'll see if suppose when I say 2 less than 4, this will result in a Boolean constant true value. Okay, now if suppose I say I change this operator, okay, to 2 greater than 4, okay, is the value of 2 greater than the value of 4? Okay, no. So this will result in what? This will result in a false value. This will result in a false constant. This expression results in false constant. Okay, and then what do you have? Okay, and then what do you have? You have less than or equal to. If suppose I say 2 less than or equal to 2, in this case, is it what does this expression result in, true or false? Okay, say 2 is not less than 2 but it is equal to 2, isn't it? Therefore this will result in a true value. 2 less than or equal to 2 will result in a true value. Okay. Similarly, if suppose I say 2 greater than or equal to 2. Okay. If suppose I say instead of 2, I replace this with say 5. Okay. Is 5 greater than or equal to 2? It is not equal to 2, but it is greater. It is greater than or equal to either of the one, right? So if it is 5 is greater than 2, yes. So therefore it results in a true value. Is that okay? If suppose I would have told, if instead of 5 greater than or equal to 2, I would have told, one second, I would have told 5 less than or equal to 2, then what would have happened? This expression would have resulted in a false value, correct? Yes, because 5 is neither less than nor it is equal to 2, therefore this will result in a false value. Did you get that? Okay. Now what is the story about equal to not equal to? Equal to, we'll see if both the left hand side operand and the right hand side operand both are equal or not, both are same or not. Say for example, equal to 2, equal to. See, there is a difference between 2 equal to, say for example, I'll give you one more example. Let me say a is equal to 6, okay? And then if I say a equal to 6, there's a difference between this operator and this operator. The reason is this one is basically an assignment operator. This is basically an assignment operator where the value of 6 gets stored into a. Okay, whereas when you say a equal to 6, nothing gets assigned. Rather, okay, the value of a would be compared against the value of 6 and says if whatever a is containing, is it the same as the right hand side? This is the left hand side of the operand and left hand side of the operator, and this is right hand side of the operator. I want to see if the value of a, is it exactly similar to the value that is there on the right hand side. In that case, this will result in a true value. Okay, or else it will result in a false value. If suppose instead of a is equal to 6, I would have had, say, I would have had a is equal to 7, then what would have happened? This would have resulted in a false value because a is not equal to 7. When you say a is equal to 7, no. So there is it, that therefore it results in a false value. Okay, this is a Boolean constant. Okay. Now the next one is not equal to. Now instead of equal to, if I would have put not equal to, then what would have happened? A not equal to 7. Okay, then yes, a is not equal to, I'm asking, is a not equal to 7? No, it is not equal to 7. That is true. So in that case, what will happen is it will result in a true constant. Did you get that? Did you get that? Yeah? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, cool. Now let me go to logical operators. Okay, so I'll explain more about logical operators in the upcoming. Now I'll just give you what are those operators for now. That is, logical operators will have, there are 3 logical operators: logical AND, logical OR, and logical NOT. These are the 3 operators. Okay, so how it works, I'll tell you later. Let us now not bother about it for now. Okay, because I want to show you some expression also, which I'll show you in some time. Okay, for now understand AND, OR, and NOT are the 3 logical operators. Okay, I will show you a truth table in some time, or I'll show you a table how to evaluate this. Okay, now then we have bitwise operators. Okay, even this I'll show you with an example in some time. Before that, bitwise operators will we'll see what are those bitwise operators. You have bitwise left shift, you have bitwise right shift, and you have bitwise AND operator, bitwise OR operator, bitwise XOR operator, and then you have a bitwise tilde operator, which is nothing but negating operator. So all these I'll be explaining you practically one by one. Okay, then we have membership operator, which says, okay, whether it is a member of a sequence or not. Whether if I give you any number and you want to see whether if that particular number is a member of any particular, not only number, any element. I'll give you an element. Okay, after giving an element, I want you to tell me whether that element is part of a particular sequence or not. Okay, what is the sequence? I'll tell you in some time again. I'm just giving an introduction about all these operators now, right? So if I give you an element and I want you to figure out whether that element is part of a sequence or not, in that case we make use of membership operator. Okay, in and not in. Okay, so those operators are, let me write it over here, it is in, and there's one more operator called as not in. Okay, these are the 2 operators. Even this, the working of this, I'll show you with an example in some time, right? Then we have something called as identity operators. Identity want to find out whether the given 2 elements are, object type elements are similar or not, are they same or not. Okay, so they are called as is and is not. Is not. There are 2 operators, is and is not. Even this I'll explain you through the material. Is that okay? Okay, so I'll just have a quick revision for you guys now. Okay, so operators in Python can be classified in two ways. One is based on the number of operands, the other one is based on the type of operation. Based on the operands, that is, you're using two operands, single operand on an operator, or multiple operators, multiple operands on an operator, you can classify your operators into unary, binary, ternary. Okay, and then that is single operand on a single operator will become your unary operator, a single operator, but two operands becomes your binary operator. Ternary is more than two operands. Okay, then based on the type of operation, what kind of operation that you perform, based on that you can classify your operators into arithmetic, assignment, unary minus, relational operator, logical operator, bitwise operator, and membership operators. Okay, so arithmetic operators: addition, multiplication, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, which will which will give you your quotient. Okay, and then you have your truncated division, okay, which will truncate the fractional part. I'll explain you more in some time. Okay, then you have this modulo operator, which will give you your remainder, and starts as an exponent operator. Okay, right. Then we have assignment operator. You know how to use this assignment operator. It is sometimes called a shortcut operator. Okay, so these are used to assign values from right hand side to the left hand side, and along with that, doing some arithmetic operation mentioned over here. Okay, adding and then storing it. Right. Then we have unary minus to negate a particular number, and we have relational operator, which will result in a true or false value. Okay, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to, and not equal to. Right. Then we have logical operator, that is logical and, logical or, and logical not. Okay, so which I have not explained, I have not given you any example, which I'll give it to you in some time. Okay, then we have bitwise operators, very important operators. Okay, you will be working on a lot of logical problems. Okay, after learning this bitwise operators, I'll be giving you a lot of assignment based on bitwise operators, which you're supposed to do. Okay, very important, mark it as very important. Okay, and then we have a membership operator. Membership operator will help us identify whether a given particular element is part of a sequence or not. What is a sequence? I'll tell you in some time. Okay, then we have identity operator to see whether if given two elements are similar or not. Even that I'll explain you in some time. Is that okay? Just say okay if you're okay with that. Okay, right. Now what I'll do is let me take you to the material, and I'll start solving the problems there one by one. Okay, yeah. Now we have this, as I explained. What are the different types of operators I explained over here? Okay, that is based on number of, you have unary, binary, and ternary, which I've explained. Okay, unary, binary, ternary explained. Then we have arithmetic operators, assignment operators, unary minus operator, relational operators, logical operators, bitwise operators, membership operators, and identity operators. Even this is explained, right? Now, let me get into, these are precedents, which I'll come to it in some time. Before that, let me get into the first program, okay, and see what will happen in this case. Okay, so we have the value of A as 3, and 2, B as 2, and C as 1. Okay, let me start solving this. So what will happen if I say print of minus A? Okay, so I'm basically negating. Okay, so I'm applying a minus to this A, so the result would be what? It would be minus 3. Correct, this would be minus 3. Right, now when I say A plus B, adding two numbers, that is 3 plus 2 will be 5. Okay, then we have A minus B. What is A minus B? 3 minus 2, so this will result in 1. Okay, right, and then we have A multiplied by B. A multi 3 into 2 is 6. 3 2s are 6. Okay, now A divided by B. Okay, 3 divided by 2 will result in what? 3 divided by 2, 2 1s are 2, so it would be somewhere 1.5, isn't it? This would be 1.5. Right, yeah. So A mod B, it will result in what? A remainder. After dividing A, 3 divided by 2, 2 1s are 2, so the remainder is 1. Okay, and then A truncated B. If I say A truncated by B, that is 3 truncated by 2. So what will happen? It will truncate the fractional part, and it will give you a truncated int. Therefore, the result will be 1. Okay, so value of this is 1, right? Then A star star B. So what is A star star B? Okay, A star star B is what? It is nothing but writing it as A is what? 3, and then it is 2. So it will become correct, right? A's value is 3, and to the power of what? B. So 2. So it is 3 square. 3 into 3 is 9. Okay, so therefore this will result in 9. Okay, one second. Let me give me a mind. Okay, right. Okay, now what is the next one we have? We'll go to the next one. I want you to keep this in mind. Very important thing. I want you to keep this in mind. Okay, whenever you're Okay, keep this in mind. So integer, when you apply integer divided by integer, you will get a float value. Did we see this here? Yeah, integer operator, you will get a float value. Okay, yeah, then that is here. This a was an integer, b was an integer, and the result that you got was a float, right? And the remaining int division float will give you a float value. Float division int will give you a float value. Float division float will give you a float value. So always keep this in mind. Keep this in mind so that it will help you when you are solving such expressions. Okay, then what you have, we have this truncation division, truncated division, right? So what happens when you say int truncated with int truncated division int will give you truncated int. Okay, did we see this over here? Int truncated division operator with int will give you a truncated int. It had to be 1.5, but it is not 1.5. It is now, it is basically at the truncated version of it. So the 0.5 would go, and it will actually give you the only one, the truncated int part will be given to you. Okay, yeah. Now what happens here? Now when you do int and truncated division operator float, then you'll get a truncated float. Okay, I'll give you an example for that, don't worry. Then we have float, truncated division, and integer, that will give you truncated float, and float truncated division operator float will give you truncated float. Okay, is that okay? So this is what you must keep in mind. Okay, so this is very important for you to understand things. Okay, so before starting out with some guess the output problems, I want you to actually know the difference between coercion and type conversion. Then it will be easy to solve these problems. Okay, so what do you mean by coercion? Coercion is nothing but implicitly converting the type of a particular element. Okay, so that, I mean, when you say implicitly converting, it means implicitly and safely converting. If there is a possibility to convert, okay, the element of one data type to another data type implicitly by the compiler itself, that is called as coercion. It is called as automatic conversion, or it is called as coercion. It means here in this expression 2 plus 4.5, okay, if you can see the result of 2 plus 4.5, the compiler would actually convert 2 to 2.0 plus 4.5, and the result is 6.5. The reason is 2 can be safely converted into 2.0 without any loss of data. There is no loss of data. Okay, now you could have asked me, why didn't this 4.5 get converted into 2? It could have converted 4.5 into 4, right? Into 4 or something like that, to an integer type. But if you see, if I convert 4.5 to 4, okay, if I say, one second, if this would have become 4.5 to 4, then there would be a loss of data. 0.5 loss of data is there. So implicit conversion will happen only if there is a possibility to safely convert, okay, the data type of one element into another element, which would be automatically done. So that is called as that is called as coercion, which automatically does is called as coercion. Did you get that? So here it becomes 2.0 plus 4.5, and then it becomes 6.5. Okay, this is coercion. Then what do you mean by conversion? Type conversion is where we are using our functions, conversion functions, to convert an element of one type to another. It's basically forced conversion. Okay, so here I'm forcing the 2 to become 2.0. Do you see this? I'm using the float function. You remember in our previous chapters also we use these functions. Okay, so if suppose we take the input, okay, say from the keyboard using input, right? You remember, and that input used like this. When we used to take the value input, enter value or something, we used to write, after entering the values through input function, we used to basically one second. Okay, when after taking the values, what is that we had to do? We used to actually convert this into int. You remember, I used to say int. So basically the string, the input function would basically give you the string version that used to get converted into an integer. Correct? So similar, this is called as forced type conversion. That is what I'm doing over here. Now this integer is getting converted into a floating point by using the float function. Similarly, in this case, if you wanted to convert this 4.5 forcibly to 4, okay, that is an integer value, then here what I do, I just say int. I'm using this int conversion function to convert this into 4.44, so that you can see the result 2 plus it got converted to 4, and then the result would be 6. Okay, so this is the difference between coercion, okay, and type conversion. Coercion is automatic, okay, and type conversion is forced. I've written it over here. Is that okay? Is that okay? You guys are understanding that? Yes, no? Okay, right. Cool. Now, having said that, let me move to the next concept. Okay, so let us do some practicing over here. Let us see what will be the output of all this. Okay, so 7 divided by 5, what will be the output of 7 divided by 5? Let me I think it should be 1.4 or something. Let me just quickly check that out. 7 divided by 4, because I want the exact output given by Python. Okay, so if I say 7 divided by 3, okay, it is 7. What was our question? It was 7 divided by 5. Okay, it was 7 divided by 5. 7 divided by 5 gave you 1.4. Yeah, right, it gives you 1.4. Correct. Why? Because I told you, right, it is here. You are supposed to look at this integer division operator. Integer will give you a floating point value, right? Therefore this will give you 1.4. The output of this is 1.4. Okay, now integer division floating point, what will that give you? Even that will give you the floating point value itself. I've given you over here. Here int operator float will also give you float value itself, right? This one, right? Therefore integer operator division operator float will give you 1.4 again. Okay, the same thing here. Float division operator float. See what will happen. Float division operator float will give you float itself. Therefore even this will result in 1.4. This will result in 1.4. Okay, and then we have truncation. Now comes to the truncation part. Integer truncated division or truncated division operator 5. What will it give you? Truncation operator. After giving a int truncation operator, int will give you truncated int. Therefore this will result in 1. The output of this would be 1. Okay, then other than that, if you, other than int truncated operator int, other than that, everything should result in a truncated float. Therefore everything will result in a truncated float. It means it had to be 1.4. Okay, this had to be 1.4, but after truncating it becomes 1.0. Okay, it is a truncated float, right? The output should actually be, if I would have done 7 divided by 5.0, it is 1.4. This 0.4 is truncated and it will be replaced with a 0. That is, it's a truncated float. This is called as truncated float. Even this will give you truncated float. Okay, and even this will, what is this? This is basically a modulo operator when you apply. Okay, so did you understand this before getting into? Did you understand the difference between division and truncation operator? Okay, so this will truncate it. So what you need to do is you need to have this in mind, so it will become very easy for you to solve such kind of problems. Okay, yeah, having said that, okay, so this one modulo operator, what will modulo give? Modulo will basically give you the remainder. So if you divide 0 by 5, what is remaining? 0 is remaining, right? So 0 modulo 5 will give you 0. Okay, yeah. Okay, now what is the, how do you solve this expression? Now we have a very big expression, 3 multiplied by 2 plus 1. Okay, can you solve this? How do you solve this? 3 multiplied by 2 plus 1. Let me write it and then solve it. Let me take the, can I remove this from the screen? If you want to take a picture, you can take a picture. Okay, I'm removing this from the screen for now. Okay, okay, so let me just copy paste that over here. What is that? It is 3 into 2. Let me solve this. Okay, let me solve this. It is 3 multiplied by 2. Then what do you have? You have what is that? You have plus 1 star star 2. Okay, plus 1 star star 2 plus 1 star star 2. Then what do you have? Minus 1 divided by 2. You have minus 1 divided by 2. Okay, and then you have truncated 3. You have truncated 3. Okay, let me write this truncation properly. People with C language will get confused that that is logical arc. So let me write it very neatly. Let me, yeah, put a slant properly. Truncated 3 minus 1 mod 2. Okay, minus 1 modulo 2. Okay, and then what happens? Plus 1. Am I right? So it is correct, right? Yeah. Now I want to solve this. Now you have all the arithmetic operators present over here. You have all the arithmetic operators. When you have all the arithmetic operators, what is that we have to do? From where should I evaluate? Which one should I evaluate first? Should I evaluate this plus? Whether I should evaluate the star mark or exponent operator? Which one should I basically evaluate? There is a confusion, right? So whenever you have a confusion like this, keep this in mind. You have to understand there is something called as priority for operators. Okay, there is something called as priority rule or precedence rule. Okay, so one second. Yeah, okay, one second. Charge my machine. Okay, right. So Thanks, Charan, for letting me know. Thank you so much. Okay, yeah. So what happens here is that if suppose I want to evaluate an expression like this, then there is something called as priority rule or precedence rule. Okay, so what does this priority rule says? Priority rule says that if given an expression, which operator must be given the highest priority and which expression must be evaluated first. That is what your priority rule will tell you. Okay, now among all these, which is having the highest priority. Okay, I've given you over here, but let me write it over here first. Okay, among this, your star star is having the highest priority. Star star mark is having, this exponent operator is having the highest priority. That should be given the first preference. Okay, and then your star mark, okay, division, your truncated division and modulo, these are given the second priority. Okay, these are given the second priority, and the third priority is given to plus and minus. Is that okay? So this is given the first priority. Okay, this is given the second priority. Okay, and this is given the third priority. So in an expression, which one should you solve first? Okay, which is having the highest priority, right? But there is a confusion over here. Okay, let me solve this. In this expression, which one should I solve first? So I'll solve this part. Okay, that is your exponent part, right? So let me keep the other operators as it is, and I will now solve this one. Okay, so it is 3 mod 3 multiplied by 2 plus 1 star star 2 is nothing but 2 minus 1 divided by 2, 1 exponent 2, it is 1 only, right? Yeah, 1 to the power 2, it is okay, 1 divided by 2, 3 minus 1 modulo 2 plus 1. Okay, so this is an expression now. Now the problem is, right, one second. Yeah, okay, so 1 modulo 2 is, sorry, it's 1. So it's 1, it's not 2, it's 1. Okay, yeah, so 1 to the power 2, 1 into 1, 1 into 1, yeah, it is basically 1, correct? Okay, now having said that, now tell me which one should I evaluate next? Which one should I evaluate next? Okay, so I have multiplication, I have modulo, I have truncated division, everything in the second list, everything is having the same priority. When every operator is having the same priority, now how do I actually evaluate it? If all are having the same priority, which one should I give more importance? Which one should I give more importance, right? So whenever you have an expression with multiple operators having the same priority, that is having the same precedence, then you have to follow something called as associativity rule. You have to follow something called as associativity rule. What does associativity rule tell you? Okay, there are two ways. One is right to left associativity, and then you have left to right associativity. Okay, so now associativity rule tells you whenever you have an expression that contains multiple operators with the same priority. I have an expression that contains multiple operators, okay, that is this and this, with multiple operators with the same priority, then which one should I evaluate first among all these? Okay, so all these operators will follow something called as left to right associativity. Even this will follow left to right associativity. Okay, and this will follow right to left associativity. It means that, okay, so if I have an expression with multiple operators having the same priority, then whichever comes first, that must be evaluated first. Whichever comes first from left to right. Okay, so left to right, which is coming first? Okay, left to right, see which is coming first from left to right. Okay, star is coming first from left to right. Okay, I have star, I have division, I have truncated division, I have modulo, all are having the same priority, but which one should I evaluate first? Whichever comes first from left to right, isn't it? So that is what I actually evaluate now, right? So what is that? So first is into 3 into 2, this is basically 6. Remaining I'll keep it as it is, plus 1 minus, I'm going slow because so that you can follow what I'm saying step by step. Okay, after your experience you can solve it in 1 or 2 steps, right? Yeah, now I've done with my multiplication. So are there any other operators? Yes, I have division, modulo and percentage and all that. So what does I have to do now? I have to evaluate this first because this is coming first from left to right in this expression, correct? So I would say 6 plus 1 minus of, what is 1 divided by 2? It will give you 0.5. Okay, truncated division I'll keep as it is, remaining I'll keep it as it is, 2 plus 1. Then which one should I solve next? Okay, I still, can I solve plus? I cannot solve plus because I have to complete all the above operators. Only then I can go to plus and minus because that is having the third priority, right? So what will I do here now? I will finish off all. Yes, I have again truncated. So 6 plus 1 minus float truncation operator and with 3 will result in a float value, which is nothing but when I divide this will give you 0.0 minus of 1 modulo 2 plus 1. right? Then what happens? 6 plus 1 minus of 0.0, I'll keep it as it is, minus 1 modulo 2 will give you 1 plus 1. Okay, then what happens here? Okay, so all the second priority operators, first priority operators are over in this expression. I've evaluated it. Second priority operators have been evaluated, and then coming to the last line, what is it? Now it is only plus and minus. Okay, now among plus and minus, whom should I evaluate first? Should I evaluate plus first or minus first? Whichever comes first from left to right, that is what I will have to evaluate. So therefore 6 plus 1 is what? 7, minus, I'll keep it as it is, the rest I'll keep it as it is, plus 1. Okay, then I have 7 minus 0.0, I'll say 7.0. You know, type conversion happens, type coercion, basically what do you call it as? Coercion happens, right? So 7 minus 0.0, it becomes 7.0 minus 1 plus 1. Okay, then 7.0 minus 1 becomes what? 6.0 plus 1, and this will become, the output would become 7.0. This is your output. Is that okay? So this is how you basically evaluate operators one by one. So let me see if I get the same output if I run that example. Okay, I'll do this practically. Let me see if I get the same output. If not, then I've done some mistake. We'll have to rework on the problem. If everything is working fine, if I get the same answer, it means I've solved it correctly. So yes, I've got 7.0. It means our evaluation is correct. Is that okay? Yeah, did you get this? This evaluation is correct. If you want to take a picture of this, you can take a picture of this. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to the next one. Right? Yeah. What is the next one now? Yeah, we'll solve more examples. This is basically your okay. I think I'm completed with your arithmetic operators. All these arithmetic operators are over. Okay. So arithmetic operators are over. Now I think we are getting into assignment operators. Okay, let us solve assignment operators. Then coming to this. Okay, so what happens in the first example? 5 is an integer constant which gets stored into B, and this entire thing becomes 5. Okay, and that will get stored into A. So basically what happens? A and B both will have 5 and 5. So this would print 5 and 5. Okay, so 5 will get stored into B, and this entire thing becomes 5. That will get stored into A. Okay, you are storing the same value into two variables A and B, right? In this one, yes. Okay, I'm separating two statements in the same line using a semicolon over here. So basically, if it is a single statement, not required. If you have multiple statements, you have just separated with a semicolon over here. Okay, so one would get stored into A, and two would get stored into B. Therefore, this will give you 1 and 2. I've just shown you different ways of using assignment operators, and in different statements that uses assignment operator. Okay, then it's a very strange looking notation. Don't worry, this one will get stored into A and 2 would get stored into B. Therefore the output would be 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Okay, this is 1 and 2. I'll write it neatly so that you understand. 1 and 2. Okay, right here I'm saying n value is 10 and I'm negating it, so therefore it becomes 10. Okay, so don't think n value will change to 10. While printing only, it will just say, sorry, minus 10. Okay, so while printing only, it says minus 10. Okay, but while n value wouldn't have changed. If you want to change the n value, right, then you have to write n is equal to 10 and then write n is equal to minus n. Okay, only then n value, the original value of n would change to minus 10, else it will not change. Okay, so for now, the output of this is minus 10. Okay, right, now I think assignment operators are over. Assignment operators are over. Okay, and even unary minus also I told you, right? So now we'll get into something called as relational operators. Okay, okay, first we will learn logical operators because this needs the help of logical operators. Okay, so that we'll first learn logical operators and then get into relational operators. Okay. Okay, let us start off. Okay, you remember I told you something that while giving an introduction to the logical operators, that I want to tell you something. Okay, this is what it is. Please keep this in mind. Okay, when you're solving. Okay, whenever you're applying x and y, see we have three logical operators: and, or, and not. These are the three operators. So whenever you have x and y, if x is false, if this is false, then return x. Okay, otherwise returns y. It must, the expression will return y. I'll give you a problem, don't worry. If x is false, return x, else return, otherwise return y. Okay, next, this expression, right, x or y, right? If x value is false, then return y, otherwise return x. If this becomes false, if this expression is false, that is on the left hand side, if x is false, then return y, otherwise return x. Okay, then not x. If x is false, return true, otherwise false. So we'll see this how it works with an expression. Okay, this is what you'll have to keep in mind. Okay, very important thing. Now we'll solve this. Okay, one more important note. I told you this in the introduction to operators also, that all non-zero values are considered as true and zero value is considered as false in Python. Okay, now let me solve this. So what does the first one say? 100 and 200. So in the first case, 100 is a non-zero value, it is considered as true, and even this is considered as true. 200 non-zero value, right? So true and true. So if x is true, it is like this. If x is true, then we'll see with AND operator. You can see if x is okay, if x is false, it must return x, otherwise it returns y. So in this case, what should be the output? It must return, okay, x is false, no, right? So in that case, it must return 200. The value would be 200. Okay, next, if x is false, then return x. That is what it says here. If x is false, then it must return x, right? Therefore it will return x. So that is, its value would remain 0. Okay, next, if x is false, then return x, else return y, right? So here I told you, right, if x is false, only return x, otherwise it must return y. So therefore the output of this would be 0. Okay, next, it is x or y, that is nothing but, it is not and is over. Okay, now it is or operator, logical or. What does the or operator say? If x is false, return y, else return x itself, right? Therefore here, if x is false, then return y, otherwise it must return x itself. Okay, it is not false, so it must return what? Itself, right? That is x. So the output of this would be 100, right? And then we have 0 or 200. If x is false, okay, if x is false, return y. That is what it says. So therefore the output is 200. Okay, and then if x is again your or operator, if x or operator, if x is false, then you have to return y, else return x itself. Therefore it is 200. This is x. Okay, not of 10, that is 10 is considered as true. Not of true is what? Will become false, right? If x is false, it returns true, otherwise it becomes false. Therefore it is now, it is true, therefore it becomes false. Okay, so this will result in a false value. Okay, and I say not of 0, it will result in a true value, correct? Not of 0 is basically what is x is false. If it is false, return true, therefore it will return, this is false, right? 0 is false, and not of false will return in true value. Okay, now another, true and 100. If x is false, then return, if x is false, that, well, let us see. If x is false, then return x. Okay, is x false? No, it is true. Therefore what is that it says? If x is false, only return x, otherwise return y. So I will have to return y. If x is false, only return x, else return y. Therefore it will return 100. You can type this, you can execute this, you'll get the same output. Do you understand this, guys? You understand this? Yes, no? Just you can put yes in the chat box so that I'll get to know whether you have understood or not. Yep. Okay. Now, shall we go to the next one? Shall we go to the next one? Okay. The next one is, yeah, so these are your logical operators. These are your logical operators. I've completed logical operators. Let me put a tick mark over here. Where is it? Here. Yeah. So we have your logical operators completed. Okay. Then the next one, we have relational operators. How do we solve these relational operators? Okay. Yeah. Relational operators, we'll solve it like this. How is it? So first one is what? Print 1 less than 2. Is 1 less than 2? Is the value of 1 less than 2? It should result in true or false constants, right? Yeah. So is 1 less than true? Yes. Therefore it gives you true value, right? Next, is 1 less than 2 less than 3? 1 less than 2 less than 3. So you tell me, how does this convert to? I told you, right? Chaining happens. So when I say 1 less than 2 less than 3, this gets converted to 1 less than 2 and 2 less than 3. Therefore what happens is 1 less than is true, and with the 2 less than 3, true. If it is true, what will be the value? I explained you AND operation over here. So what happens if x value is false? If x value is false, return x, else return. I told you that, right? Yeah. So you can use that formula above that I've given you. Not formula, a kind of condition, so that you can understand it better. Okay, you will remember it better. So this will result in a true value. Okay, next. What about this? Okay, let me erase this part and I'll explain this. So what happens in this case? Okay, it is nothing but 4 greater than 2 greater than or equal to 2 greater than 1. How does this get changed now? 4 greater than 2 and okay 2, what is it, 2 greater than or equal to 2 and 2 greater than 1. This is how it gets changed to. Okay, so is 4 greater than 2 true, and with is 2 greater than or equal to 2 true again, true, and with okay is 2 greater than 1 true again. Okay, so everything is true, therefore it results in a true value. Let me just execute this one thing and show it to you guys so that you understand how this gets evaluated. Okay, I'm just copying this statement and I'm running it on the Python interpreter. Okay, so let me just run it over here. Did I copy correctly? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So let me say it says true. Is that okay? Right. Let me take one expression from here and show it to you how it works so that you understand. So this must give 200, right? So let me take that. It is 200. So what I'm trying to say is all these are correct answers that we have solved is a correct answer. Okay. Let me try this one. True and with 100. It gives you 100, correct? So only thing is if you can actually follow this condition that I've written, right, it will be very easy for you to solve. Okay. Yeah, so now 1 less than 2, I'll solve this also. I'll remove this from here. Just remove this from here. Okay, so now 1 less than, which is that? This one, right? This one. So it is 4. Did I solve this? This I have solved now, right? It resulted in true value, correct? Okay, yeah, it resulted in true value. What is the next one? It is, give me a moment. Yeah, what is this? 1. Okay, 1 less than 2, 1 less. Give me a moment. This results in 1 less than 2 greater than 3 less than 4. Okay, so how do you basically change this? Can you tell me? Okay, it must become 1 less than 2 and okay 2 greater than 3 and 3 less than 4. So what will happen in this case? So 1 less than is true and with 2 greater than 3 is false and with okay and with 3 less than 4, 3 less than 4 is true, right? So now how do you evaluate this? If x is if you know the condition, if x is false only return x, else return y, therefore false and with the true, right? Now if x is again and again an and operator, if x is false return x, therefore this is false. Okay, so let me just come run this and see whether it is correct. Yeah, it resulted in false value, correct? So our evaluation is correct. Yeah. So next one, I would leave it as an exercise for you guys to solve for you. Okay, you will have to solve this expression now. This one, I'm leaving it to you as an exercise. I wanted to solve this. Okay. So what all did we learn now? We learned what all we learned? What all kind of operators we learned? We learned arithmetic operators. We learned assignment operators, unary minus operators, relational operators. Okay, relational operators, logical operators. Okay, and now we'll go to bitwise operators. Very, very important one, bitwise. Okay, so listen to it very carefully. It's very important to solve this. Right now, let me use my screen. I'm removing this from the screen. Okay, so now how many operators are there in between? Always keep this in mind. Always keep this in mind. Whenever you're solving your bitwise operators, you have to represent the operands in binary format. Always, whenever you're working with binary operators or bitwise operators, you have to represent those numbers in binary format, and only then you will have to apply the binary operators to it. Okay, bitwise operators to it. So how does it work? I'll show you. Okay, so let me give you an example. That is, if suppose I have nine right shift of 2, this is the first operator. Okay, and then we have 9 left shift of 2, this is the second operator. Okay, and then we have 9 bitwise and with 2, this is the third operator, right? And then we have 9 bitwise or 2. Okay, and then we have what else, 9 XOR with 2, this is another operator. Okay, and then we have finally a tilde operation, tilde of 0. We'll do that later. For now, how do you represent 9 in binary? I told you, right? Whenever you are actually working with bitwise, whenever you're working with bitwise, it is your duty to represent that number in binary, and only then you'll have to you will be able to apply this bitwise operators, right? So I'll represent this number in binary for now. How do you represent this number in binary? I'll make use of 8 bits. Okay, for now. Okay, for your understanding, that is 0 0 0 0. Okay, 1 0 0 1, this is 9. Okay, now I have to right shift this 2 times. When I right shift this number 2 times bitwise, okay, this 1 will fall down, it will go away. Okay, now this 0 will occupy this position, then it start shifting towards the right. 0 1 here, 0, and the remaining positions would become 0, and there would be a last position which is left, just like that, because it has got shifted it, that would become empty, so that would be padded by a 0 automatically. That would be padded. Okay, this is only one time I've shifted. Now second time when I shift, this 0 will fall down. Okay, 0 1 0 0 0 0 0, and the last bit would be padded with a 0. So therefore, when you right shift 9 towards the right, I mean when you shift 9 towards the right, then what happens is that 2 will be a result. This is 2, right? 2 to the power 0, 2 to the power 1. This will become 2. This is in binary, this is in decimal number system. Okay. Now, similarly, what will happen if I left shift this number 9 by 2 times? Okay, let me show you. 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1. Left shift 2 times. Okay. This 2 will fall down. I mean, sorry, this 0 will fall down for the first time. 0 will come here, 0 will come here, 0 will come here, 1 will come here, 0, 0, 1. And the last bit would be padded with a 0. Okay, again this 0 will fall. Don't think this 0 will fall down, come and attach here, nothing like that. This 0 is fallen down, gone. Okay, and then we have what is that, we have that this automatically gets padded, right? So then I'm shifting it once again. So 0 0 1 0 0 1 0, and the last bit is basically padded with again with a 0. Therefore, after left shifting, you can calculate how much is it after left shifting 9 2 times. Okay, so what is this number? This is 1, this is 2. Okay, sorry, this is 1, 2 to the power 1 2, and this becomes 4. Okay, this becomes 8 16 64. So this is 1 2 4 8 16 32. This is 32, right? So this becomes 32. So it is 32 plus 32 plus 4 is 36 37. Okay, is it 36? So this is 0, right? So this will not be counted. There is no 1 over here. Yeah. So it is what is counted. Okay, so 32 is counted and 4 is counted. So 32 plus 4, because these are the positions where the bit is set. Okay, here the bit is not set, remaining and all 0, don't count it. So that becomes what? 32 plus here, okay, 4, that becomes 36. Is that okay? Right? Now 3 looks something, let me write it neatly. 3 36. Now, if I'm doing an AND operation, what happens? 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1. Bitwise AND with 2. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. When you AND bitwise AND it with 2. 1 AND with 0 is nothing but 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, and 1, it becomes 1 only when 1 and 1, there must be 1 and 1. Only then it becomes 1. Remaining and all becomes 0. Okay, 1 and with 0, 0 and with 1, all this becomes 0. Okay, therefore the result is 0 in decimal number system. 9 or with 2. Okay, so how does it work? 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 1, and then we have 2 0 0 0 0 0 0 1 0. Okay, so what happens is 1 or with 0 is 1. Okay, this becomes 0 only when both are 0, others and all becomes 1. Okay, so 0 1 becomes 1 0 0 0 1 0 1 0 0 0 0. Okay, so 9 or with 2, you can calculate how much is it. It's basically here it is 1. Okay, then here it is 2, and here it is nothing but 4, and here it is 8. So how does it become? It is become like this. So therefore 8 plus 2 is 10, and plus 1 becomes 11. Okay, 9 XOR with 2. How do you apply 9 XOR? Okay, so first let me represent this in binary. 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 1, then 2. 0 0 0 0 0 0 1 0. How do you apply XOR operator? For that, let us learn the truth table. We'll see the truth table for that. Okay, A XOR of B. Okay, so 0 0 0 1 1 0 and 1 1, correct? So 0 0 the output is 0, 1 1 the output is 0, the remaining 0 1 and 1 0 becomes 1 1. Okay, so 1 0 is basically how much is it? 1 0 is 1. Okay, 0 1 is how much is it? 1. Okay, so 0 0 is 0, 1 0 is 1, 0 0 0 0. Okay, I think even this will give you 11. All right, this is how you basically work on bitwise operators, and we have our final operator tilde of 0. When you say tilde of 0, what is the output? Okay, it is first, as I told you, whenever you're working with your binary operators, you have to bitwise operators, you have to represent that number in binary. How do you represent 0 in binary? 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. This is your 0 in binary format. Applying a tilde, it becomes a negation. So 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. So basically, it can be your -1 in 2's complement method, and it is basically 255, 255, yeah, 255 in your decimal number system. It is, if it's a unsigned number, it becomes 255. Is that okay? Yeah, for this. This is in signed. In signed, it is -1. It is a two. It's a 2's complement representation of -1. Okay, and in your unsigned representation, it is 255. Hope you understood how this works. Okay. Yes. Did you understand this? How it works? You understand how it works? Yeah. So can I remove this from the screen? Okay, I'm removing it from the screen. Yeah, cool. So before going, let us see if we have solved all these operators. Okay, yeah, give me a moment. Let me see if we have gone through all the operators. Yeah, we've gone through all the operators. A is equal to 0. Okay, so let me, what I'll do is I quickly run this code so that you will see if we have got the same output. Give me a moment. I'll just erase this off. Even that is getting copied. That is the reason. I'll erase this off. Well, I'm copying, even those things are getting copied. That is the reason I thought I'll erase it off. Okay, so let me copy this. Vi test.py. I'm writing a test program. I'm copying it over here. Okay, so first one, what is the what? Oh, I erased it off. Is it? Okay, the first one was left. I think first time we did a right shift. First time we did a right shift. Okay, and then we did a left shift. So that, okay, and or XOR and tilde of C. Okay, I'll run this code. Is that okay? Is the code okay with you guys? I'm applying all the operators with 9 and 2. Okay, and then I'll run this code, Python 3 test.py. Yeah, I think we have got the exact answer. 2 36 0 11 11 and -1. Okay, do you see -1? The last one is -1 in sign 2's complement method. It is representing -1 in 2's complement method. So I think we have got the right output. Yeah. Okay, so we have completed our bitwise operators also. Okay, so I'll just mark it as completed here. Where is it? Yeah, bitwise. So we have completed our bitwise operators also. Okay, then we have membership. Before going that, I find that there is one assignment problem. Let me see. Let me try to solve that. Okay, what is that assignment problem? Where is it? Oh, it's here. Okay, what does it say? It is an expression which contains almost all the type of operators. It contains arithmetic operators. It contains relational operator. It contains logical operators. Okay, it is a mixture of all these operators. Let me quickly write it down on the screen and then try to evaluate it. Okay, so what is it? 2 plus 3 less than 4. Let me write it over here. Okay, 2 plus 3 less than 4. Then what happens? 2 plus 3 less than 4 divided by 2, divided by 2, and there is an and, divided by 2, and what is that? Divided by 2 and 4 truncated 5. 4 truncated 5. One second. I'll just open a new one. Okay. Yeah, I'll write it from first. 2 plus 3 less than 4. 2 plus 3 less than 4. 2 plus 3 less than 4. Okay, what do I have? Divided by 2 and 4, divided by 2 and 4. Then what I have? Truncated 5 equal to 5. truncated 5 equal to 5. Okay, and then what else you have? Mod 2 or 3 minus 1. Mod 2 or 3 minus 1. Am I right? Mod 2 or 3 minus 1. Yes, I think we are right. So we'll have to solve this problem now. How do we solve this? Okay, we have arithmetic, relational, and logical. All the three operators are there. Now, how do I solve this? Okay, so if I want to solve, as we have told, we have discussed later, discussed earlier, that we have something called as priority rule. Okay, but what we learned was the priority in similar set of operators, only arithmetic operators. Okay, if we have arithmetic operators, okay, let me write over here. If we have an arithmetic operator, that is, we know how to solve it. If it was arithmetic operators, we know that first priority was given to star exponent operator, then the second priority was given to that is our multiplication, then division, truncated division, and then we had our what was the modulo operator, right? This was given the second priority, and the third priority was given to plus and minus. Okay, this we understood. Okay, this was first, this was second, and this was third, right? But we have all the three operators. We have relational also, right? We have relational operators. In relational, which should be given the high priority. All the operators are having the same priority in relational operators. Okay, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and not equal to, all are having the same priority. Okay, and then we have logical operators. Whom should we give the highest priority to? The first priority has to be given to, okay, your not operator. It is, I'll show you over here how to remember this. Okay, see, I've given you over here. I've given you over here somewhere. I've given you over here. Did you see this? Yeah. Okay, so keep this in mind, right? Don't try to by heart that. I mean, you can, if you wish to, you can by heart. It's up to you. But I've given you the precedence table over here. Okay, first is given to your not, and then and then or. Okay, so it is your, okay, you have your not, then you have your and then you have your or over here, correct? So these are the priority for, so this is given the first priority, this is given the second priority, and this is given the third priority. Here all are given the same priority. Okay, now, okay, okay boss, so we have arithmetic, relational, and logical. Now whom should I evaluate first? Okay, so when you have that doubt, keep this in mind. Always arithmetic should be given the first priority, relational should be given the second priority, and logical must be given the third priority. Okay, so you can see over here. Okay, so what is that? We have first arithmetic operators, then we have relational operators, and then you can see here this is a set of arithmetic operators, then we have relational operators, and then we have the logical operators. This is the first priority, this is the second priority, this is given the third priority. Shall we evaluate that now? Shall we evaluate like that? Okay, so I have it on my sketchbook over here. Now tell me, in this, which one should I evaluate first? Which operator should I evaluate first? Okay, so here I have to evaluate, can you tell me? Can you tell me in the arithmetic operators? Okay, in arithmetic operators, whom should I evaluate first? In arithmetic operators, whom should I evaluate first? Okay, it is, we have, first is star. Is star there is no star over here. Okay, is there a multiplication symbol, division, module, and all this? Yes, we have no multiplication, but we have division over here, correct? So let us evaluate that first, correct? So because this is, so we have this associativity, right? The associativity for this is right to left, the associativity for this is left to right. Okay, and the associativity for this is again left to right. Okay, the associativity for even this is left to right. Okay, and even this is left to right. Okay, let me quickly verify that. Okay, the associativity, yeah, all are having left to right associativity. Okay, so you can see this here. I've written RL, LR, 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 LR. RL stands for right to left, LR stands for left to right. This is the associativity. Okay, yeah. So all these have left to right associativity. I quickly confirmed it now. Now, having said that, okay, so what we'll do, we'll start evaluating. So we will start evaluating our arithmetic operators, okay, from here, left to right, whichever comes first. I have division, I have truncated division, and also modulo. All are having the same priority, but which one should I evaluate first? Whichever comes first from left to right, right? So let me start evaluating. 2 plus 3 4 divided by 2. How much is 4 divided by 2? That will result in 2.0. Okay, and I'll write it as it is. Okay, step by step, so you'll understand which step I'm actually solving first, 5 modulo 2 or 3 minus of 1. Okay, which one should I solve next? Can you tell me which one should I solve next? It is truncated division, because that comes first from left to right. Okay, when compared to truncated division and modulo, right? So what will I do? 3 plus 3 less than 2.0 and 4 truncated with 5, what will you get? You get a 0, isn't it? Okay, 4 divided by 5, you get 0 point something, so you truncate it and you get a 0, right? Truncated int 0, because integer truncated division with an integer, you will get a truncated integer only as the answer. Okay, is equal to 5 mod of 2 or 3 minus 1. What is the next one? I'll have to solve this, right? So I'll keep remaining as it is. 2 plus 3 less than 2.0, and 0 equal to 5 mod 2 is how much? You get the remainder, right? 2 2s are 4. The remainder is 1. Okay, or 3 minus of 1. Then what happens? So I think all the arithmetic operators are still pending. Plus is there, minus is there, but all the first priority operators are over. So I will now solve all the second priority operators. Which one should I solve? Plus or minus? Plus is coming first from left to right. So let me solve that. Okay, 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay, less than. Okay, so less than 2.0 and 0 equal to 1 or with 3 minus 1. I could have solved it here, but I'm just showing you step by step. Okay, so 5 less than 2.0. Next step, I'll finish off the arithmetic operator. 0 equal to 1 or with 3 minus 1 is how much? It is basically 2. Okay, right. Having said that, which one should I evaluate next? All arithmetic operators are over. Now I have to go with relational operators. Okay, in relational operators I have less than, equal to, right? So all the two are having the same priority, and associate, when it has the same priority, now we'll have to go with associativity. Associativity says whichever comes first from left to right. Okay, you can see the associativity of relational operators. It is L to R, left to right. Okay, is 5 less than 2.0? It is false. So I'll write false. And with, okay, so I'll write it as it is, equal to 1 or with 2. Okay, next, which one should I evaluate? This one, right? I have to finish off all the relational operators. So it is false. And with 0 equal to 1, it is again false. 0 is not equal to 1, right? Or with 2. Now we have logical operators pending, right? What is logical operator says? Which is having the highest priority? Not is having, anyways, not is not there. Okay, and is having the second priority. So, and compared to or, and is having the highest priority. So let me solve and. Okay, left to right. So false and with false. Okay, you remember when x is false, whenever you are using logical and if x is false, return x, right? False or with 2, right? So what is our or operations is, when x is false, return y, therefore it is 2. So the output should be 2. Let me just run this code and see if it is giving us the output as 2. If it is giving the output of 2, it means our evaluation is correct. If it is giving wrong output, then we'll have to go through and check where we have done any mistake. Is that okay? So let me see, it must be giving 2. Okay, let me copy this. Where was that expression? Let me copy that expression. Where is that? Okay, yeah, here I'll just run that code. Yeah, it gave us 2. It means our evaluation is correct. These are the step by. So if you initial stages, start solving it step by step, and once you gain experience, then you can solve it in at one or within 1 or 2 steps. You will be able to solve it. Okay, but don't initially itself don't try to solve it within 1 or 2 steps, because you may go wrong and you will get discouraged and you'll get disappointed and you'll feel this is difficult. So go step by step. Once you get the knack, then you can start using it. Okay, hope you understood this one also. All right, so okay, so let me solve the next problem which is there. So this is also over. It's over. Let me go to the next problem. Okay, so what does it say? Okay, we have grouping. Okay, so what happens when I say 2 plus 3 multiplied by 5, which is given the highest preference? Okay, so start. So 3 5s are 15. Okay, so it becomes 2 plus 15. Okay, and then the output would be 17. You can try this out. Okay, so yeah, so first preference is given to star mark, right? Multiplication. This is the highest, this is having highest priority compared to plus. Okay, but in the second case, when you see, I have grouped this 2 plus 3 within brackets. In that case, what happens is brackets are given highest priority. So what happens here is, first this will get evaluated. That is, 2 plus 3, this becomes 5. 2 plus 3 is 5, and then becomes multiplied by 5. Okay, when the moment I group, okay, so your brackets are given the highest priority, right? So it becomes 5 into 5, but it is nothing but 25. Okay, right. Then in this case, okay, what happens? Who is given the highest priority? Okay, star is given the highest priority. Okay, so 2 3s are 6. Okay, both are star only, so both have the same priority, right? That is, so I will evaluate from left to right, right? So 2 3s are 6 multiplied by 5. Okay, 6 5s are 30. Okay, am I right? Yeah, so in this case, which is grouped first? So this is grouped. So this I'll have to give high priority to this. Okay, so this becomes, okay, 2 multiplied by, okay, so 5 3 is a 15. Okay, so this will give you how much? 15 2 is a 30. Okay, yeah, so then this one. Okay, so this is what you call this as exponent operator. Exponent operator, both are having the highest priority in arithmetic operators, but it is not evaluated left to right, rather it is evaluated right to left. See here, I've given you over here. Okay, I've put it in the table. This is having right to left associativity. It is not left to right, right to left. It means from right I have to evaluate, not from the left as usual how we did. No, we must not do that. We must do it from right. Okay, so where is it? Here, right? So first I'll have to solve this. Okay, so it is nothing but when you say 2 star star 3, what is the meaning of it? It is nothing but 2 to the power 3. So 2 to the power 3 is what? 8. Okay, so then this becomes 8, this becomes 8, and then 2 to the power 8, then this becomes 2 to the power 8. Okay, so finally this becomes how much? This becomes 256, 2 to the power 8, 256, right? So it is okay. So let me just quickly try the last one. You must be getting 256, else we'll see. Oh yo, everything is getting copied. Let me slowly copy it. Let's see. Oh, I forgot the getting 256. You're getting 256. Did you see that? So it means we are right. This is how it works. Okay. Yeah. Now we'll go to the next one. Guess the output. We have one more. I think I'll give you this as an assignment to solve. It's a very easy one. We have already solved. This will be your assignment. Please solve it. And it has only arithmetic operators. So you can solve this as your assignment. Okay. Yeah. Now what is the output of this? So 10 is an integer. Converting an integer to integer, no problem. It gives you the output as 10 itself. So I'm converting a string 10 into an integer. This will give you 10. Okay. So when I'm saying int, it's a string basically, and if it was if it is string is containing something that could be converted to an integer like this. Okay, this is basically a string, right? And this is a string. I'm having 10 within the string, and that is possible to get converted to an integer. Therefore it converts it, whereas here this might give you an error. Not might, we'll just confirm it. This must give you an error because it's a string which is containing a float kind of representation, which is not feasible for int. Yeah, it will give you an invalid character in identifier, so it will not be able to convert this. Okay, so this will give you an error. This will give you an error. Okay, right. Okay, in this case float of 10 would become 10.0. Okay, float of 10, again this can be converted into this. Even this float conversion works. Okay, you must see the difference here. It's not a string, it's a numeral. It's a string over here because it is within a single quote. Okay, even this will get converted into 10.8. Float can take this and it understands point over here, whereas this doesn't understand point. What do you mean by point? So it will not be able to do this. Here it converts. Okay, we'll confirm this by executing it. This must work. 10.8. The previous one, I'll just remove this and try once. Yeah, it gives you an error in this. In the previous case, it gave an error. In the float one, that is an int gives you an error, and float will not give an error. It works. Okay. Yeah. So what is this eval? Eval will actually take an expression and compute the values. Okay, I'll show you this eval how it works. Okay. Eval. First, I'll just show you just like that eval. Okay. So eval, and if I say 1 plus 2 within a string, it will actually find the sum of those two numbers which is there within a string, and it will give you an output. Okay, so same thing. Suppose I say eval, and I'm saying taking the input enter to enter an expression. So I have discussed in the previous chapter that when you say input, it will take the input from the keyboard and it will be in the string format. That string format is given to the eval to evaluate. So let me enter an expression. Suppose I enter an expression as 3 into 5. Okay, so 3 into 5 is basically taken as a string like this. Okay, so it is basically taken as 3 into 5. This is the format. Eval needs a string format like this, so it must give us 3 5s are 15 as the output. It gave us the output as 15. Okay, yeah. Next. Okay, so this is a binary format. So this is in binary format, and I'm asking the int function to convert this into integer. That is a decimal number system. So 1010 will give you 8 9 10. Okay, even this will give you 10.0. Okay, this is basically int is taking two parameters. It is a string, and I am saying int what is contained in the string. I'm saying, you know, it is nothing but 16, which is nothing but this number is not 16. I'm saying this is hexadecimal number. So whatever is there in string, no, is an hexadecimal number. So it understands, okay, I'm trying to convert the string into a decimal number, but the string contains an hexadecimal number. So it will identify the hexadecimal number and convert that into a string, right? Basically, it should give us 10, because in hexadecimal a is nothing but 10. Let me run this, okay, so that you'll understand. So I'm taking this from here. See, it gives us 10. Okay, so that 16 indicates what is the string containing. String is containing an hexadecimal number. So your int function will understand, okay, I'm taking an hexadecimal number and converting that into a decimal number. That is nothing but 10. Okay, yeah. So the next one is what? Binary function. It converts 10 into binary. Okay, try this out. Hex is a hexadecimal function converting a decimal number system into hexadecimal number system. Okay, and octal is nothing but your taking your decimal number system integer, that is 10, and then converting into an octal number system. Okay, so I wanted to try this as your assignment, and you will be able to find the output for that. Okay, now coming to the next one. Yeah, you remember I told you about the two operators. What are they? Okay, membership operators. Membership operators are in and not in. I told you during the introduction, right? In and not in. Okay, so what happens? What does in say? I told you, right? It will tell whether an element is part of a sequence or not. Okay, don't worry about sequence, that will be discussed in upcoming chapters. For now, understand that, okay, whatever I've written here within your square brackets is basically a list. It is called as a list, and list is a sequence. Okay, so don't worry about list or sequences and all for now. Just understand this is a sequence, and sequence contains three elements: Subhash, Charan, and Amitabh. There are three elements over here, right? Three string elements. This is the first string element, second string element, and this is the third string element. So I want to say whether Subhash is there in L or not. So is Subhash in L? The list is identified by L. Okay, so is the element Subhash in L? Yes, it is there. Therefore, this will result in true value. It is there. Okay, now Subhash not in L. Subhash not in L, it is there. Not in L will result in false value because Subhash is already there. Okay, I'm asking if Subhash not in L. Okay, no, it is false. He is there. Subhash element is there. Now Akshay not in L. No, it is not there. So therefore it is true. Is that okay? I think I've given this program somewhere. Let me just. Okay, so vi a.py. Okay, did you see this? So the first output should result in Subhash in L true, Subhash not in L must be false, and this one must be Akshay not in L true. So true, false, true. Let me see. Vi.py. True, false, true. Yeah, we got the output. True, false, true. Okay. Is that okay? Right. Having said that, now we'll go to the next one. Okay. So is called as identity operators. Identity operators, the last one. The last one is identity operators. Okay, so in identity operators, okay, we'll see if two elements are same or not. Where is that? Yeah, here. Okay, so you remember how variables are stored, right? How variables work in Python, right? If not, I'll just show you once again. Okay, I'm removing this from the screen. Right, how does it work? So it is when I say a is equal to 10. Okay, so there is a constant in memory on the heap and a would be tied to it. Correct. Now when I say b is equal to 10, what happens again? B, don't think a new memory location b would be 10 would be stored in a new memory location and b would be tied to it, because 10 is already there in memory. Python thinks why to waste another memory, and b also would be tied to that only. So b and a both would be pointing to that memory location itself, so that we can save memory. Okay, I've also discussed that integer constants are immutable. It means there is no fear of a changing the value of 10 and that getting reflected in b. If a value changes, if a is getting changed, okay, it would be copied into a new memory location and then get changed. Okay, if I say a is equal to a plus 1, okay, then it doesn't affect the original memory location. Rather, what happens is this would be copied to a new memory location, and then that a would be pointing to that one. Okay, so in that case here, if a plus 1 becomes 11, and a will now point to the new memory location, whereas b would be pointing to the same old one itself. So like this would be the scenario, right? So when I say a is b, so when I say a is b, so what should happen in the first case? In the first case, what should happen? I'll remove this for now. Okay, I just explained the concept. This is explained in the previous chapter also. Okay, so when I say A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 10, both are pointing to the same memory location, right? So how, by the way, how do I know whether both are pointing to the same memory location? Who will help us find out, right? If it is ID, there is an function called as ID. When I say ID of A, and then when I say, you know, ID of B, both should give me the same output, isn't it? Let me try that first. Let me try that first, and then we'll go to is operator. Okay, so see here, in this case, clear the screen. I'll just do a test operation, test.py. Okay, that is A is equal to 10, B is equal to 10. Okay, I want to see, I want to print the ID of A, the unique ID, and then say print ID of B. You see, both should result in the same value now. Okay, did you see that both are resulting to, with the same value? Okay, no, so this is what says that both are same. So if I say is, I mean A is B, it means it should result in true value. Is operator, identity operator. Okay, it is true. Is that okay? Now what happens is, if suppose I change the value of A to 11, A to 11, okay, and then I'll print if A is B, okay, so it must result in false value because both are now not pointing to the same location, not pointing to the same location, therefore it results in false value. Did you get that? Right, now what if, okay, so that is operator, right? I've explained over here. So both were initially pointing to 10 and 10, so it is A is B becomes true, A is not B is false because it was is B, right? It is easy. So internally is makes use of ID operator. Okay, now A becomes 11. Now A is B, no, because A already started pointing to a new memory location, so ID of A and B are different, therefore A is B becomes false. Okay, and A is not B, it is asking if A is not B, no, now it is not B, correct? So this statement results in true value. That's how it is. That's how it works. Okay, yeah, so I think we have few more programs, very simple programs, and we'll quickly wind up the session. Okay, so program 1 divided by 0, what will this result in? 1, can you do a divide by 0? No, right? It will result in an exception, correct? So let me try to do this 1 divided by 0 and see what will happen. Okay, so I'll use the interpreter for now. So if I say 1 divided by 0, it will give you a 0 division error. Okay, it says no boss, I'll not be able to divide a number by 0, so don't do this, I'm giving an error. Okay, right. Okay, having said that, we'll go to the next one. This will result in an error, no problem, this will result in an error. Okay, yeah, now what happens is next one, program 11, n is equal to 10. Okay, and then say n not equal to 0 or 1 divided by 0. So who is given the highest priority over here? Who is given the highest priority? Division has to be given the highest priority, right? Okay, but does it work that way? We'll see that. If you know division has given the highest priority, then it should have given an error for us like this, right? So now we'll see whether we'll get an error or not. Yeah, 1 second, n is not different. 1 second. What is n value? We'll say n is equal to 10. N is equal to 10, and then we'll run this code. Okay, so it did not give. If suppose arithmetic operation was evaluated first, then it should basically give us 1 divided by 0 as an error, but it is not. So Python knows when, if Python calculates or Python decides to evaluate, okay, the arithmetic operation or or your relational operator based on the way it has been, based on the context, based on the context. Okay, so Python decides when to evaluate or not. So I gave you a precedence table long back in this material. I gave you a precedence table, right? So it may work, it may not work based on, so the Python decides when to evaluate what. Okay, that is the reason I especially gave you this program. Okay, in this case it is not evaluating this. The reason is that it evaluates this first. Okay, I'll tell you something about it. So what happens in this case is, this is a special problem, that is why I kept it at the last. Okay, so what happens is, first is n not equal to 0, n not equal to 0 becomes true, right? Or okay, and it had to become like this, but what your Python does is, okay, it sees that n not equal to 0 is basically becoming true. If it is true, then need not evaluate the other one. Correct? No, it need not evaluate the other one, because it says, you remember I told, what did I tell you? If x in OR operator, let me come here, let me come to this. Yeah, here if x is false, return y, otherwise return x. Okay, if x is false only, return y, correct? Whereas here, is x false? No, right? So this becomes x or y. If x is false only, return y. When x is not false, then return itself, that is x itself, right? So then what will happen? So there is, when this is true, I need not evaluate this. The reason is that whether this gets evaluated or not, whether this becomes results in a true or false value or not, okay, so the answer would always be a true value only. Don't you think so? See, if it is, assume the first expression is true and the second expression is true. In this case, the answer is true. Whether it is true or false, okay, it would be what? It would be true. Whether if it is false or true, then this will result in what? False or true, then also it will result in true only. Okay, false or false only will result in false value, right? So what your Python does is, if the first expression is true, then it knows that whether the second expression is true or false, I'm not bothered, the answer would be always true. So it will not evaluate this part. It will not evaluate this part, and the result will be true itself. It takes this only the first part and gives you the result. So this expression, or this, what do you call this evaluation, is called as lazy evaluation. In Python, this is called as lazy evaluation. Lazy evaluation, okay, or shortcut evaluation. So yeah, so this is how it works. Okay, so be careful when you are completely dependent on precedence table and all that, but in such situations your precedence table will not work. So be careful. So you have to do a lot of testing and then only finalize your code. Okay, yeah, hope you understood this. Lazy evaluation, it's again an interview question. What do you mean by lazy evaluation? So you should be able to give you this, you should be able to give such kind of examples. That is the reason I put it at the last. Okay, now I will give this as your assignment. So we know that okay, let me solve few things. Okay, so 10 equal to 20, this results in false. Okay, then 10 not equal to 20, this results in true, because 10 is not equal to 20, that is true. Okay, 10 less than or equal to 20, yes, it is less than, so this results in true. Okay, now tell me whether 2 is less than 9. Okay, you must notice that this is not a numeral, this is basically a string, it's a character, right? 2 is a character, 9 is a character. So when you are actually working on characters, it doesn't see the face value, rather it checks the ASCII value of this, isn't it? Okay, what is your ASCII value of 2? Let me take a new. Okay, so whenever you're solving it like this, okay, 2 less than 9, there is a difference between 2 less than 9 like this and 2 less than 9. In this, 2 less than 9 is true. Okay, because it's a number, it's not a string. So 2 less than, as the face value says, 2 less than 9 is true, so this will result in a true value. Whereas here you have to convert this. Okay, so how do you convert this? Okay, you must know that, you know, a starts, the ASCII value of capital A is 65, small a is 97, and 0 is 48. Okay, you know this, right? So obviously then 1 would be 49. Okay, 2 would be 50, and so on, correct? So obviously the ASCII value of 2 is lesser than ASCII value of 9. Okay, no, so let me write 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, where this is nothing but 51, this is 52, this is 53, this is 54. Okay, this is 55, this is 56, and this is 57. Okay, no, this is 57. So therefore what happens is that so this becomes 2 is what, 50, less than 9 is what, 57, of course, and this will result in a true value. Okay, this is true value. Correct. Okay, right? So yeah, this will result in a true value. Okay, right, 12 greater than 9, same thing, it sees the first character. Okay, no, 12 greater than 9, we'll just see this, whether 12 greater than 9. So one ASCII value of 1 is 49. Okay, 49 less, sorry, it is greater than, right? 49 is greater than 9. 9 is, what is 9? 9 is 57. So when 9 is 57, so this is false, because 1 is what? 1 is 48, 49. So 49 greater than 57 is false. So this will result in a false value. Okay, I'll show you this. 12 greater than 9. Okay, let me practically show you this. 12 greater than 9. It results in false value. Okay. Yeah. So same way, I want you to try out this as your assignment. Try this as your assignment and try this as your assignment. I think you will be able to understand yourself. Okay. It's very nice examples, right? Yeah. Okay. Coming to the assignment part. Okay, so I'm giving an assignment. What is the assignment over here? It says write a program to display the powers of 2, 1 per line. Okay, so it must say in one line it from where 2 power 1 to till 10. Okay, so in each line you have to say 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 2, 2 to the power 3, each line. Okay, I wanted to solve this, so I'll have a separate session on or let me, okay, I'll show you the code, but you'll have to do it once again by yourself. Okay, is that okay? So write a program to display the powers of 2, 1 per line. Let me go and open the code for you. Okay, so vi programming assignments, right? Programming assignments. Okay, first one, we'll see the first program. Okay, so here each line 2 power 1, 2 power 2, 2 power 3, 2 power 4, 2 power 5, 2 power 6, 2 power 7, 2 power 8, 2 power 9, 2 power 10. This is what happens, right? Next, okay, next is what? So write a program to enter a number and print 2 raised to that number you entered. So you will enter a number and you have to print what is the 2 power raised to that number that you entered. Okay, so that is p2 dot. So input is a function which is used to input the value from the keyboard. You'll enter a number and that I'll convert using int function, and then I will say 2 raised to that number n, and then I'll print that 2 raised to n is so much. Again, a simple program. Okay, next we have the third program. What is the third program? Write a program to enter a base and a power and find the base raised to that power. Enter the base value and then enter a power value, then 2. So basically I'm trying to give you more exercise on arithmetic operators. So I'll enter a base value using int operator, then power using int operator, I mean int function, sorry. Okay, I mean using input function, I convert that later into using int function to a normal integer value. Okay, and then I find the base to that particular power. Here base and power both are input from the keyboard. Okay, and then I print that value. Hope this is also clear. Okay, easy programs, right? Write a program that allows user to enter 4 binary digits and convert it into decimal number. Okay, you are supposed to enter 4 binary digits and convert into decimal number. Okay, so what are those binary digits? If suppose I enter 1010, say if I enter 1010, then it must give me the output as 10. That is what it says, isn't it? That is what it says. So what does it say? Allows and 4 binary digits convert into decimal number. Yeah, so let me see if it works. I'll first run the code, then we will see how the code is written. Python 3 p4.py, enter digit 0. So what is digit 0 in this? It is 2 to the power 0, right? I'll enter this. This is 2 to the power 0, this is 2 to the power 1, this is 2 to the power 2, and this is 2 to the power 3. Okay, so I'll enter 0th digit 0, 1, 0, 1. So it should be 0, 1, 0, 1. The decimal number is 10. I got the output as 10. Okay, so let me enter one more number and see if it works. Okay, so suppose I enter, okay, 1, 1, 1, 0. Then what is this value? This is 4, 5, 6, 7. 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So let me enter. So 0th digit is 1, 1 and 1 and 0. In that case, the decimal number is 7. Yes, I got the output, right? So how to do it? Vi p3.py, sorry, p4, right? Vi p4.py. Okay, so enter 4 digits and then I multiply with digit 0 into 2 power 0. If you know this formula, it is easy for you to do it. How do you convert from binary to decimal? I'll show you that. 1 second, I'll show you that. So it is like this. Where is this? Yeah, suppose I give you 1010, then how do you convert this? Basically you'll have to use this thing, right? So 0 multiplied by 2 to the power 0 plus 1 multiplied by 2 to the power 1 plus 0 multiplied by 2 to the power 2 plus 1 multiplied by 2 to the power 3, right? So this will become 0 into 1 plus 1 into 2 plus 0 multiplied by 4 plus 1 into 8, right? So then what will happen? So this will become 0 plus 2 plus 0 plus 8. Okay, so 8 plus 2 becomes 10. So this is your decimal number system. This is 10. Okay, this is binary. This is binary equivalent is this one. This is the binary equivalent of 10. Okay, so using this multiplication, so you know how to use 2 to the power 3 can be replaced by what? you have this operator, right? 2 star star 3. So this can be used for exponent. You can use your exponent operator. You know how to use plus and all that. I think now it's a quite easy thing. So that's what I've done here. Okay, so you can see, check the code here now, and you can do it by yourself. So I always prefer you to do it by yourself and then only check the code. Okay, yeah. Next we have what is the next one? Write a program to print the ASCII values of hello world. Hello world. Okay, well, how do you find the ASCII values of each character? You remember I told you about a function called as ORD function that we used in our previous lesson. ORD function is used to print the ASCII value of a character. Okay, so I just do that. Just I print the ord of H, ord of E, ord of L, ord of L, ord of O, then ord of space, then again ord of W. Just I print the ord of all, ordinance of all characters. It will give me the hello world. Python 3, I'll run this code. You'll see. So 72 stands for H, E, L, L, O. You can see this H, E, L, ASCII value of L, ASCII value of L, ASCII value of O, ASCII value of space, W, O, R, L, D. Okay, these are the ASCII values got printed. Instead of hello world, I just printed the ASCII value of hello world on the screen. Okay, yeah. Having said that, then we have something called as write a program to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. Okay, so how do you convert? If I give you a temperature in Fahrenheit, you are supposed to convert that into your Celsius. How do I do that? Okay, so there is a formula which says, okay, Celsius is equal to 5 divided by 9 multiplied by Fahrenheit minus 32. So if you give Fahrenheit input as input, okay, you can use this formula to convert that into Celsius value. This is the formula. Okay, yeah, 5 by 9 divided multiplied by f minus 32. P6 dot, that's what I've used. If 5 by 9 multiplied by Fahrenheit minus 32. I input an Fahrenheit value and then convert that into Celsius and print that Celsius value. Quite simple program, that's all. Okay, so write a program to enter two floating point values and display the result of the first number divided by the second with exactly 6 decimal places for displayed in scientific notation, right? You remember we have used format function for this. For formatting anything, we have used format function, and then the program says enter two floating point numbers. Okay, and display the result by first number divided by the second. First number we enter, second number we enter, divide first and second number, and then display it with exactly 6 decimal places displayed in the scientific notation, it seems. So I think we can make use of a format function for this. Let me see what I have used here. Okay, p7.py, yeah. So yes, so first number I took, second number I took, and divide this, and by dividing it I also format it with using the format the notation over here. Okay, the scientific notation. So I am saying dot 6 with exactly 6 decimal places. We just did this in the previous session. I explained the format function in the previous example, correct? Yeah. Okay, this is the program. Next. Okay, so write a program to enter an uppercase letter or a lowercase letter and display the corresponding Unicode encoding. Okay, so I am supposed to enter a character from the keyboard and print its encoding value, that is Unicode value. Okay, so basically your ASCII value to see whether it is, to see what is ASCII value, I'll have to write a program. Okay, so P8, so it's very simple. Again, inputting a character from the keyboard and then using the ordinance function, ord function. So I convert that into ASCII value. Say for example, I'll run this code. Python 3 .py, enter a character, say I'll enter capital A, the Unicode encoding is 65. That's what it says. Simple program again, right? Then write a program that prompts the user for a certain number of cities for traveling salesman problem and displays the total number of possible routes that it can be taken. For 10 cities, it is 10 factorial, okay? And for 5 cities, it is 5 factorial. So basically you have to figure out the factorial of those number of cities. Okay, in a traveling salesman problem. So how do I do that? P9. Okay, so there are one very important thing to be explained over here. It is called as import. Okay, so forget about these 2 lines for now. Just see the 3rd line. I'm entering how many cities. Okay, let me take an example. I'll first run this code and then explain. P9.py, enter the number of cities. Say I want to find for 5 cities, then it will give you 120. Okay, it is 5 factorial. Then if I say, again I'll run the code, Python 3 p9.py, enter the number of cities, it is 10. So the 10 factorial is so much, right? So how do you find the factorial? To find the factorial, you are supposed to make use of the inbuilt function factorial. Okay, but that inbuilt function factorial is present in a module called as math module. Okay, in math module. So if you want to make use of that factorial, you have to either import it. Okay, I mean, there are two ways. You have to anyways import it, but what are the two ways of importing? It is from, it says from mathematics module, from math module, import factorial function. How do you read this? From math module, import factorial function. This is one way it works. Else I'll use other method. One second, I'll use this method. Okay, import math. It means whatever functions are there in math, import it. Okay, which I don't feel is necessary now, because I don't want to import everything. I just want to import only factorial function. Even this works. Let me compile this and show it to you. Run this and show it to you. Okay, enter the number of cities 5. It what happened? Factorial is not defined. What happened? Error name factorial not defined. Import math. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, when I say import math, I have to say which function, right? Yeah, here. So I will put math dot factorial. Okay, so when in this case, when I say import all the functions, so I have to make use of the module name, that is math dot factorial. Now it works. P9 dot 5. Enter the number of cities 5. Okay, so the possible roots for 5 is 120. Did you see that? This is how it is. This is how you have to basically do it. Got it? Awesome. Now, what I'll do is, yeah, if suppose I even remove this from here, I'm not importing at all. If I'm not importing, then we'll see what happens. Say 5, it says math is not defined. Okay, it means in the program, it doesn't know what is math. It doesn't know what is that we have to do. That is the reason, if you want to use in this factorial function, inbuilt function, you have to make use of the import statements. Okay, okay. Okay, I think we have completed with today's session. Okay, I hope you learned really good amount of knowledge. I mean, you learned a lot of concepts related to operators. Okay, I want you to practice all these things by yourself once. Okay, before coming to the next session, we'll have a lot of fun in the next session. We'll learn about control structures in the next lesson. Okay, so hope you enjoyed the session. Please do practice all your programs all by yourself. Okay, just by seeing you may not understand. I want you to practice it practically, each and every guess the output programs and all that, including the last programming assignments. Okay, hope you learned new today. Meet you in the next class. Until then, take care. Bye bye. Love you all so much. Bye.